It's FHQ video time. Let me ask you a question. Are you subscribed yet to my crowdfunding platform, Patreon? No? Dang, you, my friend, are missing out. You see, people who subscribe to my Patreon, they have a superpower. They can send me questions which I will answer for them once in a while on a live video. Well, not live, but live video. You get what I mean. We try to do this once per month, although lately I've been kind of busy, unfortunately. Work and life got in the way, but here we are with the next Patreon FHQ video. People send me questions and I answer them. And all these people are sponsors of my channel. So let's tackle some of your insect questions today, friends. First one is by Naomi Schwartz. Spotted lanternflies killed the only 2 wild caterpillars in my garden. I was about to protect them in a butterfly cage today when I found the carcasses of my 2 swallow-tailed butterfly caterpillars. Your influence has prompted drastic change in my gardening. Instead of killing bugs, I plant more supply so I can share with the species that call it home. I will become an entomologist because of your call to action. Thank you. Well, Naomi, let me tell you about spotted lanternflies. Well, I don't have to because I already made a video about them once. But I'm wondering, there's no doubt that the spotted lanternfly is an invasive, destructive pest in America that needs to be destroyed. But as far as I know, they're vegetarians, right? They suck sap from plants. And while they do this, they may kill some of the plants and even spread diseases. But as far as I know, they don't kill caterpillars. There are a number of true bugs, like assassin bugs, for example, that are predatory. So I'm very interested in your observation about lanternflies killing caterpillars. Do they do that? If your observation is true, it would be very interesting. I don't know of any reports of spotted lanternflies preying on caterpillars. That's something that some of their relatives could do, however, that looks similar. But I'm not sure what to think. I do think it's a good thing to change your gardening in a way to benefit insects. This is always a good idea. If you have a garden and you're watching this, you can make a difference. Plant flowers for insects. Don't mow your lawn every month. Leave some weeds, some space for wildlife. It's great. So thank you, Naomi, and if I really did inspire you to become an entomologist, then I am honored. That being said, I am not sure what to make of your report that the lanternflies killed your caterpillars. Did they kill the host plants the caterpillars were sitting on? Next question is by Abigail Kimball. Abigail, thanks for supporting the channel. She asked, I know a lot about attracting butterflies and their host plant species, but only a little about moths, including Luna moth, one of my favorites. What host plants do I need to attract awesome moth indigenous to my area? NE USA, West Pennsylvania. Well, one of the things that I can really recommend is sweet gum tree. There's a whole number of moths that love using sweet gum as a host plant. Just to name a few, I'm not sure if they live in your direct area, but I'm sure they are in your state. I'm sure they are in Pennsylvania. We're talking about the hickory horn devil, the Luna moth. I'm pretty sure that Calosamia prometea, Hyalophora cecropia, the robin moth, you know. All of those big, showy saturnids, a lot of them, they love to devour sweet gum. Sweet gum is a great plant for rearing moths in general. Not for every species, of course. But a lot of the charismatic and showy ones love to devour it. And if you plant some, pretty sure you're gonna get some good moths. Another thing in general that I recommend is deciduous trees. The thing about moths is a lot of moths, they like to use good quality forest and trees as their host plants. So this would include stuff like oak tree, birch tree, paper birch, I know, tulip tree, there's a number of silk moths who feed on that, willows. Yeah, and then there's the cool hawk moths that you get in the United States, like Manduca, right, the tomato hornworms, Manduca sexta, Manduca rustica, the rustic sphinx. They can be attracted by relatives of the tobacco family. Nightshades, you could plant tomato, potato, tobacco, and those will attract several types of hawk moths who come to lay eggs on your host plants. Whoops. Another thing I can recommend is some types of honeysuckle. Honeysuckle is a very good nectar plant for hawk moths. I'm not sure if honeysuckle is native to the USA. If it's not, maybe it's better to find an alternative. But it's also a host plant and a nectar plant for many sphingids. And just leaving some native plants in general is a very good idea to attract moths. I think moths are more easily attracted sometimes with host plants than just with nectar plants, but both is a good option. I think it's preferable to attract moths with the host plants because that means you're gonna have caterpillars and you're gonna be able to breed them. So this is good. It looks like I already was contacted by 2 different people who are inspired to change their garden in a way that benefits insects. That's great news, you know. That's exactly what I want to do with my channel. I want to inspire people who watch my show to change their environment, to change the way they garden and treat the environment. So this kind of questions make me happy. Marla Grenia asked me, what is my unicorn butterfly 6 species to rear? One you wish you could, but have not yet. What is the most difficult species to rear? So this is a difficult question, you see. There's such an overwhelming amount of species of butterflies and moths. Even the unicorns are numerous. I could name hundreds of rare and difficult to raise species. But there's just so many. There is not one unicorn. There's thousands of unicorns, right? I'll tell you that on this channel I've raised some of these unicorns. I've raised some of the world's rarest, and you can see them on my channel, but I've definitely not raised all of them yet. One that you can see on this channel, some that are very unusual and rare, and not many people breed them, is the Acanthobramaea, the Italian owlet moth. It's quite rare. It's quite endemic. It's like one of the unicorn species. Another one is Actias rhodopneuma, the pink spirit moth. That's also somewhat of a rarity. It's not super rare in the wild, but it's definitely hard to obtain in the hobby. There's Paraderphia fumosa, the smoky emperor. It's actually very rare, endemic, restricted species. Those are some of the most unusual and rare ones that I filmed on my channel. There's more, and I'm filming more of them behind the scenes. But you're asking me about ones that I have not raised yet. So let me think, what would I really like to raise? I'm a big fan of moon moths. And the funny thing is, I've raised dozens of moon moths. It's actually difficult for me to obtain a species I haven't raised yet. Like, I think I've raised close to, I think it's like 15, maybe 20 species of moon moths at this point. I've raised some very unusual ones. But one is still missing, and that's Actias chapai, I suppose. This is a very high altitude species of moon moth that flies in very cold climate on the top of mountains in Vietnam and China. And I'm pretty sure they're in Laos and other countries in Indochina. That's really one that's difficult to obtain because of the location. They're really high altitude in cold, inaccessible terrain. Not many people go there to study insects, so it's difficult to get it, unfortunately. But that one I would really like to rear, Actias chapai. That would make me quite happy. Another one I've been looking for is Coeschinocera hercules, the Hercules moth. Now, the thing about the Hercules moth, it's not rare. It's even somewhat of a common species found in Papua and Queensland, Australia. But in both places, due to laws and legislation, it's very hard to legally export these animals to Europe. You need a lot of export permits. And it's hard to find someone who is raising them, willing to export them to Europe. It costs a lot of time and money and investment. A lot of butterfly farms don't want to do it. And then there's the shipping issues from Australia. You know, the warmth, the temperature, the heat. Shipping them alive is difficult. They've been in the hobby in the past, but it's a bit unfortunate. I really never had the chance to raise them properly. It's gonna happen though, I'm very sure it's going to happen, but probably not soon. Maybe in like 5 or 10 years, I don't know. It could happen tomorrow that somebody import them to Europe, but it just seems to become rare that people raise this. I could get the species to Europe if I had enough crowdfunding. It costs a lot of money. So that's why I'm trying to raise the crowdfunding I get on this channel, you know, so I can make more money, and I invest the money in science, but also importing new species to Europe that are important to study and film. But yeah, let me think, what other species of moth would I love to try and rear? I mean, there's so many of them. Yeah, what I would really love is from Chile, the Polytisanus cinerascens. That's endemic to the country of Chile only. It's a hemileucine species, like a relative of Automeris and Dirphia and such. This silk moth is very unusual, but I also think it's in particular very beautiful. It's one of the prettiest ones that I know of. One other one I would really like is the Eogroa trimeni, the roseate emperor moth. It's found in South Africa and I think also parts of Namibia. It's beautiful because it's purely pink. Like, this is literally a purely pink species of Saturnid moth, and it's not big, but it's like this large. It truly is like it looks like a candy. It's awesome looking. So yeah, that's just some examples of moths that I would love to raise. I could name hundreds more though. Like, there's an endless selection. The user Moth Soda asked me, is there a country you'd love to travel to next? And what species of moth would you love to interact with within that country that you've never seen in person before? Well, let me tell you. There's a lot of places that I dreamed of traveling to. The main thing that's preventing me is time and money. But let me start with some of the places I would love to visit. First one, surprisingly, is the United States of America. Believe it or not, but I would really like to visit America someday. You know, America is a famous place. You hear about it all the time. I would just like to see America, you know, I'm European. I travel the world. I've been to Brazil, I've been to Cambodia, I've been to the Dominican Republic. I've been to many countries in Europe. I've been to Italy, to Turkey, to France, to Spain. Like, there are so many countries I've been to in my life. But I've never been to the United States of America. And you know what? I like the nature there, actually. I would like to see some of my favorite common species in the wild, like the Luna moth, the hickory horned devil. But I'd also like to go to places like Florida. I would definitely love to visit Florida and see all the tropical butterflies and moths there. There's a lot of my favorites there. I would love to see Texas and its environment. I would love to visit California and do moth trapping in California, especially in the mountains where you get stuff like Walter silk moth, you know, Callosaturnia species. Callosaturnia walterorum, stuff like that. Actually, I'd like to see California. That would be actually awesome. As a European, the United States is something I like to think about. It's fascinating. It has a nice mixed climate. You know, you can go to the north where it's temperate. You can go to the south where it's warm. There's a lot of things I could see there and film for YouTube. Also, like 30% of my viewers are from the United States. They are still my biggest audience. And I think it would be interesting for my viewers if I show people from the United States some of the rare insects that live in their own country, right? It would inspire some of my viewers. I think it's difficult for some Americans to relate to some of the stuff that you see in the rainforest. But just to show you the stuff that's living in your country, I could show you some of the rarest species in the United States. I know where to find them in the wild. I have the contacts to go there. So yeah, United States. Florida, Texas, the state of New York. I would probably check out California, Pennsylvania, Louisiana. I like to see the Grand Canyon. I like to see some of your national parks who are so famous. Yellowstone. You know, I just kind of want to see it. I'm very curious about the United States. I'd like to see some of your desert. I'd like to see the Mojave, you know. I'd like to see the Patagonia mountains. There's some cool stuff out there. And it's also the culture. I'm really curious about America. What is it like? What is it like to be in the USA? I like to find out. But yeah, what's preventing me, I guess, is this is why I'm trying to grow the channel. It's all about money. I hate it. I have to bring up money all the time. But this is a small demonetized channel, and I don't have the kind of budget to just travel the world like that, you know. But I'm trying to get to that point. Another country I would really love to visit is Australia. Australia is beautiful, especially Queensland in my opinion. In Queensland you have some of the biggest species of butterflies and moths in the world. You have the Hercules moth in Queensland, is one of the biggest saturniids. But you also have birdwing butterflies, like Ornithoptera euphorion, for example. And I know there's some more species of birdwings in Queensland. You have this blue iridescent swallowtail, the Ulysses swallowtail, Papilio ulysses. Oh gosh, I would love to film that one for you in the wild. Australia has some really cool wildlife that I would love to harass. I'm becoming the Steve Irwin. Crikey, that's a big moth, ain't it? Just showing you the cool moths of Australia. It has really unique families of moths like the Antelidae, like Calypteryx, which are species you find nowhere else in the world. Nothing really compares. So yeah, or Cartea saturnoides, which is a very unusual endemic moth from Australia that even has its own family. It's the only member of its own family. It's a really strange species. I would love to show you. Oh man, I would love to see Malaysia. It has lush rainforest, although they are being deforested really fast, unfortunately, but it has some nice rainforest. I would like to see Vietnam, Thailand, Japan, and last but not least, one of my bigger dreams also is to see the Amazon rainforest. I've been in the Atlantic rainforest in Brazil recently. It's beautiful. It was an amazing experience. But I still feel like, I still kind of want to go to the Amazon. The Amazon is just, nothing really compares to the Amazon. There's no substitute for it, is it? It's literally the world's biggest forest, isn't it? It is certainly the most biodiverse forest in the world, with the most amount of insects of any place on Earth. So how could I not go there? I would probably choose French Guiana. I think French Guiana is one of my favorite countries in South America. It has like 98% forest cover. And it's part of France, which as a European person makes it much more easy for me to enter the country, because it's kind of like, it's like I'm not crossing a barrier. It's like I'm staying within the boundaries of Europe, even though it's technically, it's not a European Union, but it's like tied to France, right? It's part of the French territory. So for me, it's easy to go there. The Netherlands also has some tropical islands I would like to visit, like Bonaire, and I think there's more of them. Just because it's very easy and cheap for me to go there as a Dutch citizen. Oh, I could go on and on. So I'm really trying to raise pretty much the Patreon, the crowdfunding for this channel, because I think it would be amazing if somebody traveled the world to film all the rare insects that no one else has filmed before. I would love to be that person. Next question is by Rob. Cheers, Rob. Hope you're doing well, man. And he asked me, what do you miss most from Brazil? The answer to this is gonna be kinda obvious. What do you think I miss the most in Brazil? It's the insects, it's the butterflies, it's the nature. I like the Netherlands. I like my country, but let's be honest. 54 species of butterflies in the Netherlands compared to... I think there's over 2,000 of species of butterfly in Brazil. Maybe 3,000, 4,000. Yeah, that's not on the same level, is it? In Brazil, I could wake up, eat breakfast, go into the forest, see a new butterfly species that I haven't seen before every single day. That doesn't happen in the Netherlands. I've seen almost all the species in my country. Not all of them. There are still some things I have to discover, thankfully. But I discovered almost all of them. And it takes a lot of effort for me in the Netherlands to see something new. Yeah, that kind of doesn't compare. I miss the butterflies there. And of course the people, they were very generous and kind. Last one is, you have a question from Coachella. Hey, how are you doing, Coachella? You're a new member, you left a lot of comments. Thanks for your support, it means something to me, I appreciate it. And I'm glad to see you enjoy the videos. She asked me a quite complicated question. Explain to me about what a moth versus a butterfly is, if you like. Well, they're both in the order of Lepidoptera. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna make the answer a bit brief, because if I make it complicated, this is gonna get really long and technical. But butterflies are essentially a modern, day-flying group of moths that superficially are different from moths, but the deeper you go into their ecology, the less binary it becomes, right? Like on the surface level, there's a difference between butterfly and moth. But if you study their DNA, their genetics, their morphology, there is no hard boundary. It's like the color spectrum, right? There is red and there is yellow and they are different wavelengths. But there's like a boundary between red and yellow where it's something in between, where it's not exactly red or not exactly yellow. Where does one color start and one color begin? It's kind of like a spectrum. Butterflies have their own superfamily, the Papilionoidea. But curiously, there's also some butterflies with very moth-like traits, like feathered antennae. I recently made a video about them, about the butterfly moths, the Halidilidae family. They're very fascinating. They used to be moths in the past, but recently scientists changed their mind and decided now they are butterflies. So, what is the difference? The difference is just the designation we make. There is not really a hard difference between the fact that there's just like a certain amount of families of Lepidopterans we like to superficially call butterflies, because they have superficial differences and adaptations that make them different, but especially different to our perception, and not so much different in their biology. It's more a perceptive thing than a biology thing. Like butterflies visually look more different to us than they really are to moths, I suppose. So, this is a bit of a vague answer, but you know what? I got this question so many times. I feel like I'm gonna make a more educated, more scientific video about this question in the future and really explain the details, right? But I hope this answers your question for now. Stay tuned, because yeah, I think I'm gonna answer this question again, but I'm really gonna take my time for it. I'm really gonna make it more scientific. That's what this channel is completely demonetized. YouTube hates me. YouTube doesn't pay me for all my views that I get. I work so hard for YouTube and they demonetize me and they don't even want to tell me why. And I'm demonetized permanently. So this is why I have to raise awareness for crowdfunding and donations. Crowdfunding, tips and donations are my only source of income for this channel. They determine where I can travel, what countries I can go to, what species I can breed, and how much free time I have to make videos. I don't like it, but it's how the system works, right? Capitalism. I mean, I cannot justify playing with insects almost full time while I have bills to pay, while I have work to do. But the good news is if you join my Patreon, it's a great way of supporting my channel. You are supporting my channel that supports insects. I educate people about insects. I think my channel is doing more than a lot of other channels. No offense if you make videos about video games. I'm not saying that kind of content is inferior. It's important to enjoy ourselves. It's important to indulge in our interests. But I'm saying there's more reasons to support my channel than just entertainment. There's an ideology behind it. I'm an environmentalist. I work with natural reserves in Brazil since recently. I am doing some amateur level research, crowdfunding my research, doing outreach. I educate people about insects. I'm one of the biggest and one of the best channels that talks about butterflies and moths, even if it sounds egotistical when I say so myself. But can you really deny it? It's true. And I think that's something worth supporting if you enjoy the show. But only if you're willing and able to, of course. I'm not entitled to anything. Support yourself before you support others. Only if you can afford it, and only if you think it's worth it, of course. No pressure. Everyone is able to enjoy my videos for free, and it doesn't make you less of a viewer. But if you join my Patreon, I'm gonna send you gifts and rewards in return. Here's an example of some of the merchandise that some of my patrons receive. So these are the kind of mugs I designed myself. They have moths on them, see it? This is a pink spirit moth. Actias rhodopneuma. Very cool. And I use my own photos, my own videos to make merchandise, but also stuff like postcards, stickers, t-shirts. Depending on the tier you subscribe to on Patreon, you get a special reward. And you can participate in this kind of FAQ. Because if you are a Patreon, you can send me a private message with a question. Just do it. And I will put it into the FAQ video. Thanks for watching. This was the semi-monthly FAQ. Even though last month I didn't get too much questions, so I decided to skip it. I was also kind of busy. But cheers, guys. If you have more questions and you are a patron of mine, do not hesitate to send me the question. I will gladly answer it for you. See you next video. Ciao. Thanks for supporting my channel.